We begin our 2025 grade series this week, so naturally there's news that drops just before the show. But first, we're going to set that up. We're going to talk about how the infield stacked up in 2025, and is that infield core getting a little too old for comfort? We've heard about that. We've heard a lot of people have that opinion online this offseason. We're talking about that, but first, we're going to have to talk about the Devin Williams to New York Mets deal that just went down. That's coming up on this edition of All Dodgers. Coming at you live from my home studio in beautiful La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast. What is going on, party people? Happy Monday to y'all. My name is Clint Pasillas. Find me as Real FRG on the social media machine. The guy over there on the screen is Jeff Snider. Find him as Snydog on the social media machine. All Dodgers is presented by FanDuel, part of the Bleav Network of podcasts. Like the show, subscribe to the show. And Jeff, yeah, like I said at the top, we got news. We got something. It doesn't directly involve the Dodgers, but it indirectly involves the Dodgers with the report. And you can believe it because everybody's real favorite Jeff confirmed it. Devin Williams to the Mets, $45 million, 3-year deal. The deferrals. Oh, my God. What is going on? Instant reactions to Devin Williams coming off the market.
Yeah, Devin Williams was a guy who made sense for the Dodgers. But the thing about this relief market is there's a lot of guys available. And so, and Ryan Helsley signed earlier.
Over the weekend, yeah.
Over the weekend. And so 2 of them are off the board. There's still other guys on the board. And that's just at the top end of the market. The Dodgers also learned last year that, I guess this year, that signing the guys at the top of the market doesn't necessarily ensure success. Doesn't mean that they're not going to do it again because the top of the market is still out there, which is Edman Diaz. And that's where this gets interesting because the team that just signed Devin Williams is Edman Diaz's previous team. And so, it seems like you throw in, you mix it with the fact that, who was it, Anthony DeComo, some New York writer today said that he sees the Dodgers as the favorites to sign Edman Diaz. Well, it seems like the Mets are probably wherever they were on the favorites list to sign Edman Diaz, seems like they're dropping down now that they signed a different closer to a big money contract. And so, yeah, like you said, it doesn't directly impact the Dodgers, but one guy off the Dodgers potential list, but maybe makes them more likely for some others.
Yeah, you mentioned DeComo had that it wasn't even so much of a report. He did a Reddit AMA, and that was his kind of response. He sees the Dodgers kind of being the favorites just because they're the Dodgers and they have all that money. And Mets, I don't know if he's the president of baseball operations or the general manager, but David Stearns doesn't really like spending money in the reliever market. It's something Alana and I talked about earlier on Dodgers territory. If you guys want more thoughts about that, but yeah, you mentioned Helsley off the market. 2 weeks ago, Raisel Iglesias off the market. So that market is starting to get a little bit thinner. The expectation were that the Dodgers were going to go in on the high end of the reliever market. We got to probably take some point in time to sit and think about potential trade candidates because you and I both believe they are going to be more active on trade than in free agency. But yeah, Edman Diaz, obviously a huge name there. That's another massive contract to put at the back end of a bullpen alongside Tanner Scott and the 3 and 60 or whatever he's still left over. Or no, not 3 and 60. What was his deal again? His was 4 and 60 something.
I think it was. I thought it was 80? Like 18 million a year, something like that.
Still, so to add another maybe 21, having 2 guys at the back end of your bullpen earning almost $40 million. I don't know if they go that route. We know Robert Suarez is still out there. Pete Fairbanks is a name that has been thrown around a whole bunch. So I do wonder how they end up kind of pivoting off of this. Devin Williams made a lot of sense, but maybe he wanted to be signed and kind of get that taken care of as soon as he could. Didn't want to wait till next week's winter meetings. But hey, what do you know?
Yeah, and the Tanner Scott's was average annual value of $18 million. It was actually $16 million last year and this coming year, and then $20 million the next 2 years. Although there is deferrals in there, of course. One of the reasons why Edman Diaz doesn't make as much sense as Devin Williams would have is simply the qualifying offer. Edwin Diaz is the only guy of all these guys we're talking about who has a qualifying offer attached to him. His relievers usually don't have the qualifying offer because they're not usually worth $22 million a year. Edwin Diaz does have the qualifying offer. He turned it down, which means the Dodgers, it wouldn't just be money. They would also be losing draft picks. And the Dodgers, as we've talked about in the past, are sometimes hesitant to jump into guys with qualifying offers. But we also saw in the case of Shohei Ohtani, sometimes you just do it, you know? And I don't know if, obviously Edwin Diaz isn't Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if he falls into the you just do it anyway category or not. That's going to be the interesting thing to see, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I still don't think we see very much activity from the Dodgers this week, and that's why we're starting our grade series, because we wanted to get these in the can while they're still somewhat useful to talk about the Dodgers and how they performed in 2025, or at least in totality, how we feel they performed. But I still don't think we're going to be very active, and I think that, maybe some activity starts to kind of kick off next week at those winter meetings. But still, even with all the talk of there being a need and a desire for a back end of the bullpen guy, we heard less than a month ago at the general managers meetings, Brandon Gomes pretty much laid it out there. If we don't go crazy this winter, don't be surprised, everybody. We're gonna do that Dodger thing we used to do, where we're gonna let the market kind of come to us, and they can get away with it. We've seen the names that they have coming back at some point this year in the bullpen with Brusdar Gratterall. They got Kyle Hurt in there. River Ryan could be a factor in the back end of that bullpen, and they're still going to have Alex Vesia. They're still going to have, hopefully, a resurgent Tanner Scott, so on and so forth. So the bullpen is in a pretty good spot to withstand not landing one of those dudes. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if they land one of those dudes, but very intrigued to see how the rest of this offseason shakes out. But yeah, Williams going to the Mets is definitely all right. If you wanted to opt out on us, Edwin Diaz, good luck going somewhere else, and he'll probably be a Yankee before all is said and done. Just a little swap ski.
Somebody in the chat, Dodgers fan 81, mentioned Alexis Diaz. I point out he's not with the Dodgers anymore. They DFA'd him, and the Braves claimed him, and now he's currently a free agent. So I guess maybe Edwin and Alexis will end up on the same team, but whether that's the Dodgers or not, he's not current. Neither of them is currently under contract anywhere. It's kind of interesting looking at Edwin Diaz's career, though, just the every other year nature of it, of his great season and then a less great season, and sometimes the great season is or the less great season isn't as bad as it looks, but he's elite every other year that he pitches.
Yeah.
And problem is he was elite last year. And so
sometimes it goes like that. Was that the super chat you were talking about with Alexis? Because we do have one, $4.99 from Smurfy 24 do I don't know how to say it, but that guy with the $4.99 saying, my hope of my possible long lost cousin Edwin to the Dodgers has become that much more realistic. It may not happen, but I would lose my mind if it did. And
is this Francisco Diaz? Is that who this Smurfy Dewey is?
Potentially.
I think it probably is.
I don't know. The YouTube ruined everything for us. Our buddy Kevin, who'll be joining us later this week, jumped in the chat saying, it means the Dodgers lost the offseason. Don't let us tell you otherwise. And, that's one take. It's a bold take. It's not much bolder than Alex Bregman. But I digress. What did I say? Yeah. Ken saying we all hope that Tanner Scott is surgent again. Because he'd be resurgent. He's a surgent player of the year in 2026. Raul Robles with the 199 super chats is feeling like trust the process. It's like trust the process with the bullpen. And yeah, this is definitely one of those off seasons we've talked a little bit about, and we'll kind of pin it from here. We've talked already about in the less than 30 days now, since they are exactly 30 days since they won a World Series. Talked about way too much. That this isn't. They are already a very well stacked, well built team. They don't need to do a whole lot to get better for 2026. Like, you can kind of run this team out there, and not do anything and be in a pretty good spot. Maybe you need to bring back at the bare minimum Miguel Rojas, but they're in a very, very good spot. But we're back to the old ways. Trust the process. Bleav in Andrew Friedman. I do for sure.
Yeah, it's the bullpen is always so weird
Yeah.
because, how do you build a bullpen? Sometimes you go out and sign the two best relievers available, and then they're both bad, and sometimes you don't sign relievers, and somehow you have a great bullpen that just made up of guys. And Dodgers have a lot of arms. They have guys coming back. They have starters who are probably going to end up in the bullpen. And the big question is, can certain guys be surgeoned again? Like Tanner Scott, like this guy. Just got this bobblehead in the mail the other day.
Oh, nice.
Blake Triton is a guy. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Can he do something? You mentioned Gratterall coming back. Can Gratterall actually pitch more than 10 innings in a season? We'll see. All those things. Edgardo Enriquez, does he take the next step forward?
Yeah, that's
there's the makings of a really good bullpen there. You throw in the possibility of Roki Sasaki, maybe the ghost of Bobby Miller. Different guys who could play a part. But yeah, I'd like them to get one of the big guys. And honestly, I would have liked Devin Williams I like his stuff. I like the no qualifying offer, all those things. I would have liked that. But you know what? As the Rolling Stones once told me personally one time, you can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need.
I was told that the Dodgers and us, as fans, we get whatever we want these days, and this is a load of horse manure, to quote Vin Scully, and we want Devin Williams. Go undo this contract or go trade for Devin Williams right now. Let's go. Get off your ass, Andrew Friedman. Mark in the chat earlier saying it's a weird time to get conservative with the money when these guys are all going to age out of their prime in the next couple of years, and you're going to be stuck with those contracts. And we are going to talk a little bit about the age when we get into the grades portion of this show. The bullpen is an area, and the pitching, well, maybe more so the bullpen. The bullpen is an area where it can stay on the younger side. You mentioned a few of the names in there. Bobby Miller's still somewhat young. If he could figure out anything, hopefully he's taking this entire offseason to just focus on the bullpen and just focus on 2 GD pitches, because that's all he really needs. A guy I'm really, really excited about, I'll say the name again, Kyle Hurt. That dude's going to be picking up some big innings for this team, next year. Ben Kasparius, another year in the bullpen, should be very good as well, because they kind of screwed him over after having an exceptional first half or first couple of months there. Let's see. I think we got one more super chat in here. The Enigma with $4.99. Appreciate that. It says the team that hit 204 in the World Series doesn't need to do a whole lot to go back to back. Well, they
need to hit better.
When you consider the names that are in there, you're not going to replace Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts. You're not going to replace Teoscar Hernandez. Maybe. You're not going to replace Will Smith.
Yeah, the fact is you need to hope that Mookie plays better. You need to hope that Andy Paez plays better. The guys, and I think a lot of people are caught up on the fact that it's back-to-back World Series that the Dodgers haven't hit well.
Yeah.
But they also led the major leagues in runs scored, or second or something. And so, the firepower is there. The fact that it didn't show up in a 7-game sample doesn't mean that it's not there. It doesn't mean that you can just count on it to be there either. But, the guys on the team absolutely have the potential to play much better next year and win another World Series.
Absolutely. So before we move on and talk about the grades, return to what was going to originally be the scheduled programming, I do want to talk about the latest odds over at FanDuel, because there's more stuff you could do now if you're trying to, wager a little coin on your Dodgers. You could actually bet on who the Dodgers will face, or who teams will face, which teams will face off in the World Series next year. And if you guys are watching this, you'll see there's a few of them that are plus $52,000, highlighted by the Chicago White Sox, with the Dodgers matchup with the Chicago White Sox. Just how much of a long shot that is. That's beautiful. The Angels being at plus 25,000 is honestly ridiculous. It should be at least 100 billion or something like that. But yeah, that's something you could do. You can go wager on The World Series contenders next year, all the teams are up there. Do check it out. Shout out to FanDuel for presenting the show and all that kind of stuff. Any thoughts on this, Jeff?
Yeah, in case you don't know exactly what that means, it means if you put $10,000 right now on the Dodgers and White Sox playing in the World Series, then when that inevitably happens next year, you win $5.2 million. Guys, what are you waiting for? Pull that $10,000 bill out of your wallet and mail it to FanDuel.com, P.O. Box 12345.
Yeah, no. Mail it to
Schenectady, New York.
Mail it to. I can't trust you. Mail it to my home address, and I'll make sure I get it to our friends over at FanDuel. Wink, wink, wink. You just see the chair spinning and dust behind me, as if I can move that fast. Anyways, all right, let's shift gears and let's talk about something that already happened, the 2025 season. And Jeff, we've talked a little bit about this. Starting this grade series, and it seems like what better time than now to get this in the can, get this out of the way. We'll open with the infield, but this week we'll do infield, outfield, bullpen, and starting pitching. Kevin will be involved as well. We'll kind of all sort of have rotating seats, and hopefully we get all that out of the way, and the Dodgers are like, okay, you are blessed. We will begin the offseason, and we will start signing players. So, anyhoozle. Let's kick things off with how about that catcher dude, Will Smith? He hit a pretty big homer to end the season there to help the Dodgers hoist that piece of metal for the second year in a row. We got some graphics here. Very fine season, if we want to call it graphics. It's pretty bare bones, but still, I put the effort into it. So shout out to me for doing it. But great season. Obviously, 110 games, had a little bit of some injury stuff in there, but more importantly, the thing I love about this, Jeff, is something I've talked about for the last, at least 2 seasons, is getting Will Smith time off of his feet, so eventually he can spend all of the time on his feet during the World Series. But good year. Not quite an incomplete year, but if I'm gonna be unfair with the grade, this is like a B. Maybe a B plus to me, like 4.5 wins above replacement. The average was there. Run producer ends up finding his way back up into being a cleanup hitter for this team at different points in time. No real notes, just do it again next year, and also teach Dalton Rushing how to do it.
Yeah, there's that. He did again have that late season swoon. It looks a little different because he missed most of September because he was hurt.
The hand, yeah.
With the hand.
I forgot what it was. I forgot that it was the hand. I probably should have remembered that, but
yeah,
I've been drinking.
But the month of August, he had a 630 OPS in August. His numbers were looking great. And then he batted 159 with a 304 slugging percentage in August. And that is an ongoing factor for Smith. And like you said, part of the answer is getting him off his feet more often. I do think in hindsight, the broken hand was a blessing in disguise for the Dodgers because he did have fresher legs for October, so that they, when he came back, late in the NLDS, I believe, is when he showed back up. He was ready to just go out there and we love you, Ron Rovaltelt, but we don't need you now. And so Ron Rovaltelt was able to just cheer on from the sidelines for all 73 defensive innings in the World Series, and Will Smith had the legs to do it. And the Dodgers won 4 games in the World Series, which is how many you want to win in the World Series. 3 of those, Will Smith drove in the winning run. The walk-off home run by Freddie Freeman in Game 3 is the only win the Dodgers had that was not won by Will Smith, because in Game 2, he broke a 1-1 tie with the home run off of Kevin Gausman. Game 6, he got the scoring started with the RBI double, followed up by Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts' 2-run single was the difference, but back in the 80s when they put game-winning RBIs on the back of baseball cards, that was who drove in the run that put the team ahead for good. It's the hitting equivalent of a winning pitcher. Will Smith drove in the first run there, and the Dodgers never trailed. And then Will Smith obviously hit the game-winning homer in the 11th inning in Game 7. Will Smith came through when the Dodgers needed him to in a huge way. And so absolutely, if he's going to be bad in August and good in October, sign me up for that every single year. But I hope that Dalton Rushing can help Will Smith stay a little bit more steady through the whole season by getting him off his legs, keeping him a little bit fresher for the whole season, because we can't count on him just taking the month of September off to be super fresh in October.
Yeah. Next season is a year where I really don't want to see anybody playing 150 games, and I don't care what Freddie wants to do or what Mookie wants to do. If they're playing 140 games, maybe that's too much. Like, keep these dudes rested, loose, all that kind of stuff, and paramount of all of those names is definitely going to be Will Smith getting some rest there, getting some bench time. Hopefully not because he's injured. A couple people disagreeing. I'll say my grade, my B to B plus, was kind of just factoring in the regular season. I should and I will moving forward factor in the postseason a little bit more. Matty Man is saying that if Smith isn't an A, then we don't have one, and David Yu saying it's an A for a catcher. If he wants to click and put that one on the screen. Again, he did miss time. He did have, as you mentioned, have that very long lull in the season. So you can't get an A if you had a bad month and also got hurt. I mean, the getting hurt isn't so much on him per se, but I think it's fair to give him something to strive for so he can be an A next year, and that's the only way we can do that.
Yeah, I can see that. It's hard to quibble with the 152 OPS plus from a catcher. That's pretty good.
Pretty good. By the way, Richie's getting ahead of us. We're not doing outfielders today. We will be doing that either tomorrow or Wednesday. But Richie hitting us with the $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much, Richie. Saying, that is very tiny on the screen, isn't it? That's not what it's saying. Here we go. It's saying we can wish all we want about free agents, but I've been on this earth since 1965. It always comes down to people coming out of nowhere. My grade Conforto is for Conforto is F minus. Good riddance, mental toughness, and words are hard today, ladies and gentlemen.
Did Richie spell 1865 wrong?
See what you did there? Because he's old.
He's old.
Yeah. I'll give you that.
There's just not many people left who I can call old,
That is fair. Matty Man's saying this is gonna be a tough crowd. No, I think it'll get better. Again, 110 games ahead of this. It is down point of the season. Do we want to? I guess touch on the Dalton Rushing side of things a little bit more right now, or do we want to save the bench for after?
I think we're at catcher. Let's talk about Dalton Rushing a little bit.
All right. Well, we got here's our bench. We'll go back to this series of stats, probably pretty frequently. And I'll note that I did not include Ben Rortvedt or Austin Barnes in this one, mainly because of space, although I could have moved it up and I could have fit in at least Ben Rortvedt. But Buddy Kennedy felt more important to me, regardless of all that. Dalton Rushing, needed to see a little bit more out of the kid. Obviously, his first cup of coffee, 53 games, 582 OPS. Did not meet expectations. Maybe it's harsh. Maybe it's not. He defensively, he was pretty okay. When he had his opportunity, he got injured like the very next day, and it didn't quite work out. But for me, this is a D because a C means you're passing. C's get degrees. C's a passing grade, and he's not passing. He needs to do more homework to get into the happy side of a grade for me. What do you think about Dalton Rushing?
I agree with you on a D. I will say this though is like the progress report that gets sent home like 6 weeks into the semester.
Yeah,
where you're saying, hey parents, just so you know, Dalton's struggling right now, so we're going to need to see more from him. He needs to lock in.
Got a lot of those. My day.
Because he was playing a role he had never played before, which is, hey, you're going to get 6 at-bats a week, whereas he's used to getting 5 a day, and so obviously he struggled in that role. He did have a big home run against the Padres, that was, at the time it was huge. That was a pennant race. It was a big home run. We got to see some flashes of what he can do. His arm is great behind the plate.
Yeah.
His receiving needs some work, blocking pitches in the dirt mostly. Which is, it's tough to tell if that was just a fluky couple days or if that is a big weak part of his game. We'll kind of have to see going forward. But Dalton Rushing's motivation this offseason needs to be, I need to figure out how to get myself more at bats.
Yeah.
And what that means is, taking fly balls, taking ground balls, a lot of different things, knowing, okay, if I'm going to get 2 starts a week at catcher, can I get myself 2 starts a week somewhere else too by being able to play other positions? Because then that's better for him and better for the Dodgers because he plays better, he hits better, and maybe he gets a D plus just because he did get Austin Barnes off the roster.
This is fair.
R.I.P. Barnesy. Yeah, love Austin Barnes as a person. Austin Barnes was. It's hard to say, you know what, our catcher needs a day off, so we're just going to sacrifice all semblance of offense. And then not like Dalton Rushing hit well, but what did Austin Barnes hit this year?
Bad. I think it was like 210 or something.
I can't even. It's like hiding. So he had a 518 OPS. So yeah, Austin Barnes was even worse than Dalton Rushing.
Yeah.
This year offensively. So yeah, I mean it's only uphill from there. But yeah, I expect Dalton Rushing to be better next year, but getting those fresh at bats is gonna help.
GI agrees with us, Rushing getting a big old D, phrasing, primarily for the fact that he was a black hole offensively. I want to highlight this one from Big Time. This comment saying Buddy Kennedy needs to be locked up long term. That is World Series champion Buddy Kennedy, mind you. Raul also pointing out or asking, didn't the Dodgers have a random catcher for a day? Yes, that is a legendary Chucky Robinson, who made no sense, but he was around, and that is a thing that happened. Moving on. Let's we'll bounce back and forth to that bench graphic. If you're watching the podcast and not listening, that is useful to you. Let's go to first base, and why don't you tell us your thoughts about Freddie Freeman and his 2025 season, where maybe he was showing a little sign of age?
Yeah, there's definitely. I don't know if it was age because he was coming off of ankle surgery and broken rib cartilage or whatever it was.
A little beat up.
Yeah, and obviously when you are 35 years old or whatever he was, it is hard to bounce back from. So I would say it's a combination. His age made the recovery from injury a bigger impact. The fact is, all of that said, he had a 141 OPS plus. Like he almost batted 300. He was in contention for the batting title until the last couple of weeks of the season. He hit 39 doubles. Like it was a Freddie Freeman-ish season, just not quite what we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I am inclined to chalk it up to at least somewhat the injury, but
that's fair.
He's going to be a year older next year, and so being another season removed from the injury. Is that counteracted by also being another year removed from the day he emerged victorious from his mother's womb? That's a way of saying he's getting older.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think for Freddie, there's no way this is an A season because we've seen what an A season looks like for Freddie Freeman. I think we're grading people on their own curve, and on the Freddie Freeman curve, this season was a B or B minus probably, especially throwing the fact that his defense was definitely impacted by the bad ankle. His range was worse. He was still great at picking balls in the dirt. But beyond that, not a great defensive first baseman this year. And so all in all, I'd probably say B minus on Freddie Freeman. Yeah,
and that's pretty fair. And honestly, Freddie would probably grade himself lower just because he's very harsh on himself. But yeah, for me, I'm definitely grading based on the expectations and what we've seen out of Freddie Freeman and over his career and the last 4 seasons in Dodger Blue. And, you look at those numbers on the screen. If you could pencil those into your lineup 100%, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, dude, give me that. That's an A player right there. It's probably an A minus player. That is a solid player. But the expectations are this is, Freddie's in a position to be driving in 120 runs, and he just didn't have the type of season at the plate that we are used to for him, that he is used to for him. And we know there's more in the tank. I know there's more in the tank, and maybe it's unfair to give him a B or B minus, but it's also extremely fair because we know he can do better. And this is the way we're challenging him by him not watching this show and getting better for the 2026 season. But still, very, very good. That is college credit right there. That is university applicable credit. You are in a good spot, Freddie Freeman. Great year. Had another one of his signature postseason moments in a Dodger uniform in the World Series, all that kind of stuff. Very good, but there is space for improvement. There's also space for you guys to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We'd appreciate it if you do that. We are trying to get to 25,000 subscribers. We know a bunch of people watch the show who aren't subscribed. If you can hit that subscribe button, it would help us out a whole bunch, help out the network and all that kind of stuff. Moving on. Anything else to say about Freddie? He had
the lowest walk rate since his rookie year for him, and his highest strikeout rate since 2016.
Yeah.
This year, those things, the strikeout rate, like he had kind of settled in over the last 5 years at like the 14 to 16% strikeout rate. This year it was over 20%, which is still better than league average, but that's what I would like to see. And I think some of that was just adjusting to his body, adjusting to the injuries and everything. Yeah. So I'm those are two numbers I'm going to be watching next year, is especially the strikeout rate, because I think that's going to indicative of what version of Freddie Freeman you're dealing with.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I agree. I probably didn't address it enough, the injury part of it, or agree with you enough on it, or take the moment to say that's a very good point. Dealing with those the surgeries in the offseason, also not being able to. I think he said he started his usual offseason like swing work where he usually would, like about the time he usually would. But it wasn't the same. He wasn't really able to fully swing until the start of spring training, and even that, it was kind of a slow ramp up. He is a dude who wants to hit. He wants to hit all day, every day if he can, and that's how he's able to lock it in. So hopefully a full, as full as you can get, healthy offseason. Hopefully also he's not going out there playing for Team Canada or something like that. I'd like to just have him stay at Dodger camp.
He's done it twice, right? He's played in 2 WBCs.
I think so, yeah.
So one for each parent. Let's do this next one for just the Dodgers. Stay home.
Yeah, call it a day. Raul with the 199 super chat, bringing up the numbers, by the way, the career numbers for Freddie Freeman, saying he's 569 hits away, nice, from 3,000. Does he do it in LA? I don't know where else he's going to do it.
I think if he gets to 3,000, it will be with the Dodgers, because if he's hitting well, he has 2 years left under contract with the Dodgers. If he hits well enough that he's within striking distance, then he's worth keeping around. He's not going to, I guess maybe if the Braves said, hey, we want you to come home and, retire as a Brave, maybe, but I mean, they kind of burned that bridge. And I think that he is home, and I expect him to play the rest of his career with the Dodgers on some level, unless he just goes the Justin Turner route and says, no, I want to keep playing even though I don't justify being a starter anymore. Yeah. I'm going to go play for a team where I can be a starter, maybe. But, I think Freddie probably finishes his career with the Dodgers.
Yeah, and also where he's at in his life, I don't imagine him wanting to be away from the family, the kids, his dad, and all that kind of stuff. There's all the reasons to stay in LA, hopefully in a Dodger uniform for the rest of his career. And then we could justify him going into the Hall of Fame with the Dodger hat on, even though it will be probably just an MLB hat. Hey, let's move on. I named this one Timmy Tunks because we got to talk about Tommy Tanks. He played the most games at second base for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers had a lot of different second basemen sort of in 2025. He also missed a bunch of time with that nagging ankle injury. I think there was another injury as well, but he started the season hot, and some people, self included, started sipping the Kool-Aid that like, oh man, Fleeceman, he strikes again here. He went out and got the best player in baseball, and they inked him to that 5-year extension and all that. And then April stopped, and the hitting kind of stopped as the the injury sort of aggravated Edman's body further and further. And he had an okay season. He had a season that was better than what Chris Taylor was doing. I don't know that he had a season that makes me excited to see him as the potential starting second baseman or something next year. But if he's able to play all around and kind of slips into a utility role, then I'll be happy with him. But to this point, it's It's so weird. I know these grades are all over the place. Our expectations for Edman are kind of shorter than some of the other dudes just because he's only been around for a season and a half. But I got him at a C. You got to do better, but he was fine. When he was healthy, he was fine. He's got to do better.
Yeah, I think that's about right. A couple reasons if I'm being glass half full, as I often am. One, uh, this was the worst season of his career. And that may not sound glass half full, but the fact is, Tommy Edman's worst season before this, he had a 90 OPS plus. This year, he had an 82 OPS plus. This was very clearly injury related. Again, like everybody else, it's so hard to tell. Are these injuries just a fluke, or is it a symptom of having an older team? Tommy Edman's 30 years old. Once you turn 30, your body starts falling apart. That's probably less true for professional athletes than for people like you and me, but it's still true.
Say what you will. I'm an athlete.
Edman he's had his surgery. I assume he had the surgery. Have we heard how it went? We heard he had it scheduled, but
I saw him post something over the weekend. I saw him on his hind legs, which means, and it wasn't wearing a walking boot.
So maybe he hasn't had the surgery yet.
Yeah, but I know the plan. The Dodgers were trying to make him, push it to before Thanksgiving. Maybe they had a little bit of a heart and didn't want him to have surgery on Thanksgiving or the week of it, something like that. But it needs to happen soon if he's going to enter camp, fully ready to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he is a smaller guy than Freddie Freeman, so you assume that the recovery from ankle surgery will be a little bit quicker for him just because there's not as much weight on it. But yeah, the nice thing about Edman is he's not the Dodgers starting first baseman. He can, if he starts the season on the injured list and they need to give him the first month off recuperating from the surgery, that's okay. They have other guys who can fill that role. You can kind of feel it out because we saw several times this year they tried to give Tommy Edman time off so he could be fully healthy when he came back. It never really worked.
Yeah.
He was never fully healthy because he was never going to be fully healthy until he had the surgery. Now there's actually a realistic chance that when he comes back, he will be fully healthy. And I expect him to be around a league average hitter like he's been throughout his career. And if you're a league average hitter who makes good contact, runs fast, runs the bases well, and plays very good defense at multiple positions, that's the guy the Dodgers signed. That is a guy who's absolutely worth his contract. It all comes down to he be that league average hitter, and can his ankle allow him to play the good defense at multiple positions?
And an update, clarification on my part. Yes, he did have the surgery. It appears he was on with Sedano and Kaplan on ESPN LA radio last week. So this was some aggregator article, Yahoo Sports. Joe Rutland, if that's even a real name, says he's doing all right. He recently got the surgery. He's hoping that it fixes it for good. Then he had been dealing with that ankle issue for the last couple of seasons. So yeah, hopefully, a healthy, not having your trunk completely under you and him hitting from both sides, that's got to affect both swings, and just it's ideal that he gets this thing squared away and then hopefully is able to bounce back and be. I don't know that he is the best everyday second baseman for this team. He's one of them. Yes, he's a Gold Glove Award winner. But, we got to probably talk about Ha-Seong Kim a little bit, where he had a very good year. He needs an opportunity. He's a very, good second baseman. I don't know. I guess this is me kind of shoehorning Ha-Seong Kim conversation into here. Should we go with that for a second?
Yeah. I mean, he's a second baseman. It's definitely, Kim was a guy who there were some expectations, and then he came up when he did get called up from the minors, hit really, really well for a few weeks. And then just, he looked bad, and he had injury issues too, which obviously weren't age related as far as we know.
Wink injury issues, I think.
I don't know. I think it's hard to look that bad at the plate if you're healthy, as bad as he did. And so, I think there was injury issues there. And I think whatever it was, the thing about Ha-Seong Kim is neither of us or anybody in the chat right now has any idea how he's going to hit big league pitching. We just don't know. And we've seen flashes. Obviously, the power is surprising sometimes. The speed is absolutely electrifying. I there's definitely ways for Ha-Seong Kim to work himself into some playing time.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is don't have a 36% strikeout rate or whatever he had this year.
Yeah. If I'm putting a grade to it, it's kind of incomplete right now. We need to see, show more work when it comes to Ha-Seong Kim. Did get into 71 games, but it was such a kind of tale of two seasons because he did hit the cover off the ball in so many words. He got on base a whole bunch. He was hitting close to 400 for a short spurt there, but that was also his first look at major league hitting, and they're learning him. You saw the league adjust to him, and he did not adjust back even slightly for a while. Then, he got real injured. Whatever happened there. Young Yi saying in the chat, Kim could be an excellent center fielder with the speed in his arm. I disagree with that, just because I've never saw anything that I liked with his routes and kind of picking the ball up off the bat in the outfield. I think the speed helped him recover on a number of spots, but if he's limited to just second base, essentially, he's not going to have much of a career with the Dodgers, let alone, at the big league level. But still, he's somebody that's intriguing and hopefully, at the bare minimum, is just like very, very strong competition for Tommy Edman to light a fire under his ass to do better and kind of take a stranglehold at second base. But yeah, Kim was around. It was a fine year, but we need to see more of the good and less of the not good.
I do think the reads in the outfield are something that can be worked on. I don't think that's something you're born with. And so he's got the athleticism. And so if he can, we've seen it with Andy Pasillas, like turning himself into a good defensive center fielder. If Kim could follow that same route, he is has more speed than Pasillas, more athleticism, all that stuff. Doesn't have the arm of Pasillas, but has a good arm.
Yeah.
I think there's potential there, but that's all pie in the sky right now until we see him actually do it. It's like, okay, yeah, you can picture if this guy learned how to play outfield, he could be a good outfielder,
Yeah. And if that's the ultimate goal, if you're looking at Ha-Seong Kim as, a younger replacement for what Chris Taylor was, what Kike Hernandez has been, Miguel Rojas down the road, like that, you need these dudes. You need to have quality utility guys because, again, they are getting old. Those dudes especially are getting old. Next year will be Miguel Rojas' final season playing baseball. Kike Hernandez can't hit during the regular season. So the Dodgers eventually need somebody to kind of take the mantle there and be the utility guy, be the Taylor to the Kike Yang or however that works. And if Ha-Seong Kim ends up being that dude, that'll go a long way. But hopefully we could see a little bit more consistency out of him heading into next season. Moving on, before we get completely into the bench, we got a couple more spots. We do have Mookie coming up, but first we got to talk about the man, the myth, the Muncy. Injuries derailed this dude's season. I want you to talk about him first, but he was on his way to another just fantastic season. Obviously started a little slow, but once he found it, I love Muncy. I really wish more people loved Max Muncy the way I love Max Muncy, even if I don't always talk glowingly about Max Muncy. But what was your impression of this season for him?
Yeah, Muncy is awesome. He had a 3.6 WAR in 100 games, which means that's roughly over a 5 WAR season if he had played a full season. You can't ask for much more than that. 5 WAR is all-star level. And the batting average isn't pretty. It's not the ugliest we've seen from Max Muncy. No. In fact, this was his second highest since 2019.
Yeah, you put up that average in OPS over 135, 140 games. Yes, give me that every single day of the week.
Absolutely. And, his OPS plus 136, which is actually his, one of his better seasons with the Dodgers offensively. Just he was hurt. And this is 2 years in a row we've seen him miss significant time with injury. It's tough to tell. Both years he missed time with oblique issues. This year the oblique wasn't as long, but he had the fluky knee injury because Michael Taylor doesn't know how to slide. And just like he had the fluky elbow injury because Jace Peterson doesn't know how to run the bases back in 2021. I got people on my list, man. But the thing about Muncy that really stands out is he's a solid defensive third baseman, and that might be understating it. Yeah, he's not going to win a Gold Glove. There are plays that he should make that he doesn't. Mm-hmm. But there's also, you think just about the postseason, the wheel play, like huge play there. You had catching the line drive when was it Andres Jimenez who squared to bunt and then came back and slashed and hits the line drive that Muncy, he's playing 60 feet from home plate. It's like he's playing minor A, and this dude hits it 100 miles an hour at him, and he makes the play. Like Muncy had plays this year. He was an above average defensive third baseman, mm-hmm. and for a guy who can hit like him, if Muncy had been healthy the whole season, absolutely an easy A. Because he wasn't. You got a grade on what he did, and so it's probably a B minus. But that's purely on quantity, not on quality. I will take this level of quality from Max Muncy every year and be happy with it.
And B minus, probably a B for me, just because I'm going to grade a little higher because he was nice to me, and Muncy's just an overall good dude. But we talked about, and I've seen people mention in the chat a whole bunch, the streaks. You mentioned it as well. He didn't hit his first homer until I think his 31st game of the year. After that game, through the end of the season, well, actually not through the end of the season. Let's get all the numbers in there. I didn't want to cherry pick. He had an OPS just a little under 1,000 over his final 72 games. He had all 19 of those homers. He continues to be a slugger. You mentioned the defense at third. He never wanted to play third base. Went there because he knew that was the position he needed to play to get in the lineup. Yeah, you move over from first base when the team signs Freddie Freeman, and each year he's become better and better at the position. Also, just understanding what he does for a team in the clubhouse, what he does for those dudes in that clubhouse to try to keep people together, being a vocal leader, being the one of the more front-facing guys for media when Freddie don't want to talk to people. Muntz is there ready to talk to media, answer the stupid, dumb questions, answer the fun questions as well. Gives a hell of an interview when he's drunk with the boys after winning a postseason series and all that kind of stuff. And also always finds a way to keep himself involved in postseason games. Honestly, one of the most kind of still unsung hero moments in that Game 7 too. I remember saying it. I think no, Alana wasn't there. I was telling somebody. I was telling the Discord, like, don't give me hope when he hit that homer to bring it to, what was it at the time, 4-3. It's like, don't you dare give me hope, Maxwell Muncy.
That was the moment when it's like, okay, they're not dead. Yeah. Like they hit a home run out of Trey Savage. Now anything, because that, you also remember that home run is what guaranteed that Ohtani would get up again in the game. Mm-hmm. That didn't end up being the factor because the guy before Ohtani said, let me be the hero. Muncy, he had a bad postseason. He only had one good postseason series, and that was the one that he sat on the bench most of it. He hit well when he was in the games against the Phillies. The other three series, he was bad. But he stepped up. That home run in Game 7, Dodgers don't win without that home run. Mm-hmm. And you can say, obviously, when you win in 7 games and you win in extra innings in the last game, you could say that about 1,000 different plays during that series. But 8th inning of Game 7 is pretty late to be doing some heroics, and I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude's a beast. Now, just a week ago, we had a conversation about improving at third base, at least on paper, with that Alex Bregman conversation. And I do think at some point they need to find the heir apparent to third base. Muntz has got 2026 in the bag, and then baseball's done in 27, so we'll be fine, and he can end his career there as a Dodger. But until then, hell of a player, Muncy. Just stay healthy in 2026, and I will be a happy boy. Finally, on the infield as we shift to the, I don't know. I guess it's kind of people are going to have some opinions about how we grade this. I'm interested.
I just wonder if they're going to have your opinions about your blatant Buddy Kennedy disrespect.
Whoa.
Let's just stop talking about third base all of a sudden.
My bad.
I don't want to talk about Buddy Kennedy.
What about, all right, how about combined with Alex Freeland? F.
All right.
Big fat Fs for both.
Yeah. Alex Freeland at least shows potential for the future. Buddy Kennedy wore a uniform. And all right, let's move on to shortstop.
But we didn't talk about Miguel Rojas. We'll talk about the bench after Mookie. Mookie Betts obviously had a season of headlines, we'll say. Moves to shortstop. Says he's taking over at shortstop in the offseason shortly after the Dodgers win the World Series. It gets 6 dog days before the start of the season in Japan. Things don't go well. Well, actually, the season starts really, really good for him, and then he kind of craters and tanks, and you don't know if he's going to end up staying at shortstop. And it's not that he's not hitting because he's playing shortstop. He's not hitting because he was sick, but also he wasn't always playing a fantastic shortstop, especially in his own eyes. Like eye test for me, he did fine for a regular season, but you saw him get better and better and better along the way. Still, the numbers not very Marcus Lynn Bettsian. Even with that, the wins above replacement, that's pretty fueled by the defense. Not a terrible season, especially for a shortstop, but that's the big thing. This is just not what you expect out of a perennial MVP candidate with Mookie Betts. He was great the year before, obviously missed time with that broken hand, which you could argue helped him out as well, getting a little bit of time in the middle of the season, a little bit of time off. But even with all the downs, still proved to be a run producer in that 2-hole. Thankfully, Dave eventually moved him out of that 2-hole so they can win a World Series. Dave will eventually, at some point, pull the right levers when he's given enough opportunities to do so. But for Mookie, I'm kind of torn. Probably a C+ kind of season, just because we know there's so much more in there, and I expect him to get back on track bigly next year. What are your feelings about Marcus Lynn Betts?
Yeah, like we said with Freddie, you got to grade these guys on the curves that they've set. And the fact is, this was the worst season of Mookie's career offensively, and it was one of the worst seasons of his career, even when you factor in the excellent defense. You look at this, an 8-time All-Star, 7-time Silver Slugger, 6-time Gold Glove winner. He's gotten MVP votes in 8 different seasons. This year, none of those things. His baseball reference line, where under awards, where he's just got things listed every single year, this year it is empty because he didn't make the All-Star team, because he didn't get MVP votes. He didn't win a Silver Slugger, didn't win a Gold Glove. He came close to winning a Gold Glove, didn't win it. And that kind of tells you everything you need to know. He had a 104 OPS plus. Yeah. He was slightly above average offensively this year, which, if you say, wait, you got one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball and he was a slightly above average hitter. Yeah. In general, you would take that, especially if this was 1987. But it's 2025 and it's Marcus Lynn Betts we're talking about. And so the fact is Mookie needs to hit better than that. The good news is, the only other time he's been close to this bad offensively, in 2017.
He won the MVP
2017,
the next year.
He had a way to OPS plus, and then the next year he had a 186 OPS plus and won the MVP. And so Mookie can absolutely bounce back. How much of it was the sickness? That's the big question. A lot of people believe that playing shortstop is why Mookie struggled this year. I don't believe it, but none of us know for sure. Yeah. And so I need Mookie next year to be healthy and play good shortstop and hit well, so we can see, okay, it really was just the health thing last year, and he's moving on onward and upward from here.
I mean, it's a combination. You can't pin it to any one particular thing, for sure. Health leads to bad habits, leads to, and switching position leads to grinding on other things or things other than hitting the way he might usually do it. And we saw him get hot at the end of the season, and he actually opened the postseason pretty hot as well before he just fell off and then got in his head and cratered really, really hard. But when you look at those final 47 games, OPS just a bit under 900, hit 9 homers, 34 ribbies, hit a 317, batting average. The BABIP wasn't like overly fueled by BABIP. Like he found something. He wasn't. I think the first 100 or so games of the season, everything was either straight up or straight down for Mookie. When you're looking at launch angle, he found something that gives me hope that he will bounce back. And I said today on Dodgers territory, this is I think he finishes. It's not a very bold out there pick, but I think he finishes top 5 in MVP voting next year. I think he will be all the way back, and I think he's not going to like, as you point out, all of that empty space in the awards section, on his baseball reference, on his baseball card this year. He's not going to be happy with that, and he's going to bounce back in a big way, and he's also going to be a top 3 or 5, maybe 2 or 3 shortstop in the game. Like, we're in a pretty good spot with all these dudes. People having some issues with Will Smith getting a B, Freddie Freeman getting a B. If they stay there and you get Mookie back up to playing A caliber baseball, it's a very, very, very good baseball team, guys. Be a very, very good baseball team. Matty Man's expecting a 30-90 season out of him. I mean, hell, he's pretty close to it. 82 runs batted in with the bad season he had. I'm in on Mookie, even with the bad grade, even with a C grade. He gonna be back.
Yeah.
Somebody
in the chat Jay asked what stats next year would make me say that he was back up to his standards. I need to see his OPS plus around 130 at least.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, that's Mookie. You look, his career OPS plus is 135. Which means that is kind of his standard. In his best seasons, his best season 186, but in the 140s is, you'd say that's classic Mookie Betts. That's MVP contention, especially if he's playing good defense. If Mookie's OPS plus is 140, and he plays a great defensive shortstop, he's probably the MVP, or at least making Ohtani not unanimous, which is a feat. Nobody else has ever been able to do that. So, that's what I need. That's what I'd like to see from Mookie.
Yeah, no, that's a good number. I like that. Weighted runs created plus, OPS plus, if you can get it 130 or higher, Dodgers are in a very, very good spot, because I expect very similar numbers out of Will Smith, out of Freddie Freeman, out of Max Muncy, hopefully, over 130 games rather than, 100 and change. And then we'll get to the outfield later this week, where we're going to talk about Teoscar Hernandez, taking steps back in the right direction, and what year 3 looks like for Andy Pages, and what that black hole in left field might look like in 2026, because it's not going to be Michael Conforto out there, guys, and everybody should be happy about that.
So it'll be less of a black hole than last year.
Yes, that's
even if nobody plays there.
That goes a long way. I think, I don't know that you and I would be, league average, but we are right now.
Hashtag free Wardo.
Free our boy Ryan Wardo. Looking at the last names we have not talked about on this list, it is Kike Hernandez and Miguel Rojas. I'm going to start with Kike. Who do you want? Let's each give one grade.
Let's start with Kike because Rojas is. I think we need to love on Rojas at the end.
Kike,
he hit the best home run in Dodger history.
He didn't go into full Keektober mode. He had some insane plays and huge moments that helped his team win a World Series. He was also bailed out on one decision by Andy Pages stomping over him. I got a D minus. I really do. I mean, he was even. I think somebody had mentioned. I think somebody had mentioned that like even his vibes weren't quite the same as they've been in the past. And if Kike's down and he needs to be told like, hey, come on, let's go. No, it wasn't Kike. That was Miguel Rojas. And eventually he turned it on. But even so, Kike's got to be vibes coach and at least give something. Played some third base, but he was also hurt, so he wasn't around, and that meant Buddy Kennedy needed to play third base. Anyway, so we don't need to talk too much about it.
Yeah.
D minus.
The defense makes me a little bit, what he did without contributing much offensively in the postseason. He did have a big hit in game 2 against the Phillies.
Yeah, I think it was game 2.
Had the big hit that ended up being really important because that was the game that Blake Trinan said, hold my beer and give me another one. I think Kike's defense and his versatility, and maybe giving him a little bit of a break because he was playing with an elbow that needed surgery.
It's fair.
It definitely wasn't, I'll go C minus, but it was a rough season for Kike, and Keektober didn't do as much as usual.
Yeah, it's worth noting, and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think before he hurt the elbow, he had an OPS just under 750. Like, he was having an okay season. He was starting to heat up a little bit, had a few dingers and all that. That elbow injury definitely took a lot more out of him than he was willing to let on. The fact that he got that surgery so quick after the World Series and all that tells you that it was bad, it was painful, and he needed to get it fixed. GI pointing it out. Kike had a pretty poor season. Torn UCL extender probably did not help. 100% did not help Kike even in the slightest. But Alex giving him a B+ for the postseason alone and comparing it against the salary, Matty Man 5 Dodge was saying that I'm a tough grader. That's just giving away. You're giving away people, giving degrees away to people with that kind of grading.
Well, Kike is an athlete, so that's how professors grade athletes,
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, it's fine. All right, Miguel Rojas. Hell of a season. Hell of a season for the old man. I mentioned, he did not start the season very well. He was down in his feelings, and I forget what the full story was, but essentially somebody told him, hey, this is not who you are. Be yourself. We need you. We need you to, the bare minimum, be like happy and be the man. Eventually he found something that kind of worked. You see the numbers there. Yeah, 715 OPS, not the sexiest in the world. Playing around, not playing all that much, not all that consistently, but second half of the season really turned it on a lot more. And just another solid year for the veteran, and knowing what he also brings to that clubhouse. Like he's the guy I want that dude back. He needs to be back in that clubhouse for one more year.
Yeah. I think that I think the fact that he didn't play a lot and the fact that he played well are very, very related. I think Miguel Rojas is at his best when he doesn't have to play a lot. They were able to, they kind of found that it's kind of funny. His best month was the month that he played the least. That was June. He only had 26 plate appearances, and his OPS was over 1,000, over 1,100. But then, the other months, he was overall, he had a 100 OPS plus. He was exactly a league average hitter, and he had 1.1 defensive WAR in roughly half a season worth of playing defense. Like, that's a very, very good defender, playing multiple positions, throwing the vibes, the team leadership. You can hear it when they after the Dodgers won the World Series and Dave Roberts was doing his speech just before he turned it over to Clayton Kershaw. He said, "The game honors you, and the game honored Miguel Rojas tonight." And you can hear somebody in the background yell, "Best teammate ever."
That's pretty cool.
Like they love.
It was not
Miguel
Jazz
Rojas.
Chisholm.
He's not welcome in that Dodger clubhouse. You and I aren't in that clubhouse, but guys who are yelling things like "best teammate ever" about Miguel Rojas. The dude, he played when they needed him to, and he hit the most impactful home run in Dodgers history.
Yeah.
Miguel Rojas. And part of the reason it was most impactful was because in a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. You think it's impossible for Kirk Gibson to hit a home run. Wait till you see Miguel Rojas, Vin. Like, it was just...
On two bad legs.
I've watched it hundreds, 1,000 times. And every single time, I still can't believe it happened. And I love that Joe Davis's call was just, "No way!" It's like he's all of us. Like,
Yeah.
just what in the world just happened? Because we were all just hoping, just get on base so that Shohei can drive you in. And he's like, why get on base, bro? I'm just going to hit over the wall.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Easy.
Does that work, guys? Because what if Shohei grounds out? Oh, good thing I hit that home run, huh, guys? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And so for him, knowing that he's only playing one more year, knowing that he is fine in a role where he doesn't play that often, he probably plays his best there. It's a no-brainer to bring Miguel Rojas back. And I just have a hard time seeing them not doing it. He is grading on the Miguel Rojas curve. Absolutely an A. He played good defense. He hit league average, and he came up clutch in the postseason. And by the way, Kike Hernandez's defense that saved Game 6. Miguel Rojas' defense saved Kike Hernandez on that very play.
Yeah. The fact that he was able, like he said, sit for 3 weeks and get plugged in those final 2 games and not have that kind of overwhelm him. Like, he stepped up. That's the big thing with Miggy Rose. The dude steps up. And you've seen him get better at stepping up in the big moments. Like, the dude is sneaky clutch. He's 100% sneaky clutch. And that's why my grade, as Matty Man 5 Dodge says, is F minus, trolling me in the chat. No, yeah, grading, you couldn't have said it better. Grading on the Miguel Rojas curve, it's an A. The dude's an A, and he needs to be back in that clubhouse. GI saying Rojas was exactly what they needed him to be this season, higher wins above replacement than Tommy Edman and Teoscar Hernandez, which is insane to think about, but of course factors in. Defense there, Beverly was saying in the chat, both Kike and Rojas need to come back, need that clubhouse chemistry and the veteran intangibles being a key for this team. I don't disagree. I don't know that they bring back both, but hopefully they do. Hepatitis See You Later said if anybody deserves a special curve, it's Miguel Rojas. And it's for all of those reasons that we give him that. Richie's not a fan of my grading, by the way. Says I wouldn't give half the Dodgers a glass of water if they were drowning. I mean, that's not grading, but, that just seems more like hateful.
Hashtag mixed metaphors.
All right, well, there's your grades there. There's another thread I want to touch on quickly because, as I said at the top of the show, what we hear about a lot is this team is getting old. Is age just a concern, or is it a real concern? Or is age just a number, or is it an actual concern for this team? Because all of these guys we've talked about, except for Tommy Edman and Ha-Seong Kim, boys are long in the tooth. The youngest guy in there is Mookie Betts at, 33? They are old. They are getting older. How concerning is that for you when Freddie's got 2 years under contract. You still have Mookie for 6 more. Max will be around for at least next year and then probably slide into some sort of utility role. Where are you at? I mean, we've talked about this, but I want to try to package it in another way for people to digest. Where are you with the age of this team, and is it a concern or just a number?
It's more a concern than just a number. I'm not overly concerned about it for 2026 because I do think, I think a lot of the things that could have been age also might have just been health issues. And again, like I said earlier, health issues are harder to overcome when you are elderly like I am and like some of these guys are.
Yeah. My hip hurts if it helps. I'm old now.
Yeah. I'd hurt if I was your hip too. I don't know what that means, but Mookie Betts, he got sick. I'm hoping that next year, somebody in the chat, I think it was BC, mentioned Mookie's age next year is going to be the age that Freddie Freeman had his best season, and so, or at least one of his best seasons. And so there's nothing about being 33 years old next year that says, oh, Mookie Betts has gotten old. Mookie has been a good enough player in his career that to think he could play well through 36 and maybe be a little bit down the last 2 years of the contract, I don't think that's unreasonable. I think that's kind of what I expect. Freddie Freeman, I expect him to be better next year than he was this year. And that's kind of where I go at when I'm looking at the age. How many guys do I expect to be better next year than they were this year?
Yeah.
I think Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Tommy Edman, I would say I expect all of them to be better next year than they were this year. Teoscar Hernandez, we're not talking about him because he's not in the infield, but, I'm not sure about. But among the infielders, Max Muncy, his age concerns me because we've already seen his body type is maybe susceptible to some injuries. Again, the knee injury was a fluke, had nothing to do with anything about Max Muncy. If anything, the fact that he's made of steel, like I don't know how he was only out for whatever it was,
ridiculous
10 days with that, so that came in handy. But back-to-back years with oblique injuries when you're built like Max Muncy, it concerns me. Throw in the fact that he hasn't hit lefties well in the last several years. I have concerns about Max Muncy that are age-related. The other guys, not for 2026, but down the road, obviously, it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and especially for this infield group. And the one area I look at is third base. It is really just going to be Muncy, and that's why we even entertain the idea of talking about a Bregman replacing Muncy sort of thing or taking over at third, is because he's a little bit younger. His body plays a little bit well into his later age. But I agree, 2026 is not going to be a major issue. Then they should be, knock on desk, more well-equipped to give these guys days off. And like I said much earlier in the show, I need to see Mookie and Freddie be okay with taking more days off, because at this point now, we 1,000% know the regular season doesn't mean anything. That is the most, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of everybody's time, but make sure you guys are here. Like, subscribe. We'll be here all next regular season. They need to be healthy. They need to be at the top of their game come October. That's it. And age it's not a problem.
Yeah. It's also worth noting the Dodgers' worst hitter this postseason was the youngest guy on the team, Andy Pasillas. That's for all the struggles they had, you can't look at that and say it was age related, and so sometimes people just struggle. And when it's in October, they get labeled as a choker, and we saw it after 2022. Mookie Betts was labeled, the dude can't hit the postseason, even though we saw him do it in 2020. And then we saw him do it again after 2022. It's just, it sucks to slump in October. But you know what? What does he say? The other team, they drive nice cars too. Sometimes the pitchers win.
They drive nicer cars usually in the postseason. Usually.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Reds, but usually. But guys, that's about it for today. The final one I have is also another chat from our friend Richie Flores, because I'm pushing the button, so that means Richie gets a platform. We know our friend Jeff will ignore him.
Who's this? Richie who? What?
He says, can't wait for the grade of the Dodger Stadium parking lot. I'll spoil it for you. It's an F. F for the Dodger Stadium parking lot.
Unless you park in lot F, in which case you're out of there in like 6 minutes. Tops.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Like Clayton Kershaw 3,000 strikeout game and Yamamoto bobblehead night doesn't work. Then again,
well, it still works better than general parking. I was at game 3 of the NLCS, and it did take me about 15 minutes to get out of the parking lot, but that's still a lot better than, Yeah.
To be fair, a lot of that was my fault for getting there late. I should have got there 16 hours early. So, my apologies to who did I have with me? My buddy, I think Robert was with me, and Bob Nightingale was with me. Not the real one, but the fake one here that is usually hanging out with us in the show. Before we sign off, $5 super chat from Maddie Man 5 Dodge says, the kids with the grades. Great show as always. Appreciate you, buddy. Maddie Man 5 Dodge. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We will be back. Speeding everything up today. We will be back later this week, possibly tomorrow, possibly Wednesday. Pay attention to our Discord so you know when we're going to be live, or to the social medias, mainly Twitter, so you know when we'll be live. We're always posting there. Support the show there by clicking on that, scanning that QR code. Support the show through patreon.com/realfrg, or click the join button here on YouTube so you can join us on Discord, where we're always talking about when we're going to go live and other things are going on throughout the day. If you can't do that, if you don't want to support us financially here at this time of the year, hey, you know what? Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the show, all of that kind of stuff. All Dodgers is presented by FanDuel, part of the Bleav Network of podcasts. And anything you want to say before I hit that button?
No, thank you all for everything, and I mean that.
Whoa,
bye.
It's too nice. Bye.